In my Necrodeus analysis, at the end, I made the absurd claim that Darkcrafter is Necrodeus reincarnated with no additional context. I apologize for how long it's been since I originally teased this video, I legitimately just forgot. If Maglar has taught us anything, if you disappear in an unusual fashion upon your death, there's a high chance you aren't actually dead. Necrodeus' death animation features him getting sucked into a vortex for no explainable reason, and judging by the fact that Morphonite takes over as God of Death in future games, it will be presumed that he is dead, or at least gone from this universe. But, as seen with Maglar Epilogue, getting sucked into a vortex might just take you to an alternate universe. The argument of what games are canon in Kirby has been a long, grueling debate, but with Maglar Epilogue opening the possibility of a Kirby multiverse, we can theoretically say any game is merely in an alternate universe, but still canon to the multiverse. Kirby and the Rainbow Curse is often left out of canon discussions because the world doesn't seem to just be looking like clay, but actually be made out of clay, because color getting stolen basically kills people. Kirby literally dies at the start of this game before being revived by Eileen. Kirby has been struck by the God of Death himself and survived. There's no way this is the same Kirby. Other notable differences is Kirby doesn't seem to inhale at all, and rolls into a ball involuntarily all the time, and splats on walls. Kirby is shown to be malleable before, but not to this degree. We've seen Kirby get launched into walls all the time, and this has never happened. And since there's a second Kirby trophy that depicts normal Kirby that specifically mentions copy ability while the main ball one does not, seems to greatly imply these are not the same Kirby. So now that we've established this is canon in an alternate universe, let's talk about Darkcrafter. From the moment he appears, a familiar jingle plays. For some unexplained reason, the grab hands, the hands of Darkcrafter, use the Skull Gang theme. Light motifs are a dead giveaway to two things being connected. We ages ago deduced that Daruch is connected to Maglar because the Squeak Squad theme plays in Under My Control. That being said, I should have also connected into another dimension because the Doomer and Daruch theme is the same too, but regardless, there is still the chance that it was coincidence, but in this case, this is verbatim a remix of the Skull Gang theme. This isn't the only somewhat out-of-place Kirby Mass Attack remix in this game either. Rainbow Curse has a lot of remixes because it has the jukebox collectibles that don't play anywhere in the game, but Mass Attack remixes are a part of the main OST, and even have some different song names. The second most notable song is Skull-Lord's theme. A character who did a deal with Necrodeus to gain power, is used for the Mecha Kata, a supersized version of the pawn of Calacia/Darkcrafter's army. However, there's one notable instance of music reuse with seemingly no correlation in Kirby, which is that the Castle Lolo theme became a random boss theme for various characters, so it should be taken with a grain of salt. Moving on to appearance, the grab hands appear to be pink-skinned, severed, bleeding hands with eyes for palms. As established in the last video, Necrodeus without a shadow of a doubt canonically once had flesh with purplish skin. These hands look quite similar to what we'd imagine Necrodeus' hands to look like. Only issue is he has these half-circle insignias on his palms and no eye sockets. But this can easily be danced around with the fact that we only see Necrodeus' head go through the vortex, so the hands are just reincarnated anyway. And while we're at it, Necrodeus' skull was highly cracked upon death, so most likely his skull was completely gone with just his eye and spirit left over. There is a level that takes place in a haunted pirate ship with characters called Death Skulks, which are somewhat reminiscent of the Skullies, and you have to remember that while Calacia created some of the worlds of Seventopia possibly before being possessed, there's great evidence that most of the inhabitants were created post-possession, by Darkcrafter, with the only exception being Hoop Lagoon, who was made with blueprints from somewhere else. So for Darkcrafter to create characters that look like the Skull Gang, it would imply a connection. And on top of that, the King's figurine description calls it the Death Skulk Gang, just like the Skull Gang. It doesn't get more on the nose than that. Furthermore, Death Skulks share a striking resemblance to Tyranza species, and Necrodeus has strong ties to Floralia. Darkcrafter has a unique way of possession. He inhabits a pair of glasses and presumably waits for a victim to put them on to take over their body. He also has physical body parts that stay outside and puppeteer the body, the grab hands. Necrodeus' way of possession was also untraditional. Instead of a character possessing characters, it's more of an essence. You could simply call this corruption rather than possession, but on the map you see this spirit has glowing eyes and laughs at you, so it seems the flame is sentient. Now this is a stretch, but what if the ability to possess objects extends beyond single items and can possess entire areas? The aura is around the entire level after all. Most likely, Darkcrafter is a weaker form of Necrodeus, so its radius of effect could be lowered greatly. Also, these glasses share a striking resemblance to nightmares, and we've theorized that Nightmare could be a conglomerate of fear shared throughout the universe, which might include Necrodeus, since he's the god of death and all, which would explain their visual similarities. Necrodeus' main motivation was that he hates light, and targeted Popstar because it was the brightest. Darkcrafter's motivation was to steal all the colors from Popstar. Color is a reflection of light, so ultimately they do the same thing. But wait, if Necrodeus hates light and color, why would Darkcrafter, being Necrodeus, cover his body with it and make worlds out of it? It's not uncommon in media for a character to absorb something into themselves as a sacrifice or to keep it away from others. We still don't know why Necrodeus hates light exactly, whether it's for himself or for his Skull Gang, but we know he wants all light gone, not just to remove light from his own areas. As for Seventopia, this wouldn't be the first time Necrodeus has turned light into something beautiful and vibrant. It seems destroying light isn't all that easy. Necrodeus settles on capturing the light and sealing it away in the sunstones to keep it away. Popstar shines so brightly that even with 7 worlds, he still has to keep some of the light in his own body. Darkcrafter has a noticeable pink-colored eye. While the color pink is a pretty big deal since it's the color of Kirby and Void, eyes on these characters are usually red or orange. 2 characters with pink eyes are Necrodeus and Dark Nebula. Dark Nebula was the ruler of the underworld, which puts him in a similar position to Necrodeus, so there is some kind of connection there. And while we're at it, it's been theorized that Darkcrafter is possibly a form of dark matter, possession, the body shape, and the word dark in the name. Yes, his smoke clouds are similar to dark matter, but they're also similar to Necrodeus' body, and dark has been used for more than just dark matter associated characters, like the mirror characters, so that doesn't automatically mean they're related. But I must say that the word matter and crafter are eerily similar. Darkcrafter's one and only attack is bombs, and his version of Wispy Woods only drops bombs. Does Necrodeus have any connection to bombs? Well, when Necrodeus takes over Dedede Resort, all the Waddle Dees become equipped with bombs for some reason, and in Kirby Quest they don't, so it's not just a quirk of Mass Attack itself wanting to be different. Dedede's boss fight also uses time bombs as a main attack. Dedede using bombs is somewhat common, but it does seem to be more of an emphasis in Mass Attack, and which technically makes it a connection, but it's definitely a stretch. Finally, going back to one of the first things we said, is why would this massive Smog have powers on the level of the God of Death? Well, simple. He is the God of Death. Grab Hand being too strong for this Kirby is actually commonly reinforced. It's a little bit odd that Bandana D is strong enough to match them, but Kirby isn't, but ultimately it is just for a gameplay gimmick. But it also further proves that this is a completely different, way weaker Kirby with no real combat abilities. When Grab Hand does get a hold of Kirby, he drags him into the unknown, kind of like the Scullies in Mass Attack. But just the fact that he goes after Kirby specifically instead of Aline or Bandana D would also imply that this character knows that Kirby is the biggest threat to his plan. And the final nail in the coffin? The sound that plays as he drags Kirby away? It's Necrodeus' laugh. Of course, all this being said, there is another alternate possibility, which is just that Darkcrafter is this alternate universe's version of Necrodeus, but there are some details that specifically would pertain to the idea that it's the same Necrodeus. And also, while we've seen slightly different variations of alternate universe characters, we haven't seen an alternate universe create a character completely differently. So, if HAL were ever to give Kirby Mass Attack a remake, it would be my dream that HAL gives Necrodeus an epilogue mode that details his journey into the Clay World and becoming Darkcrafter. We can only hope.